Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the News Behind the News with Ralph Kintav on Mix 94.7 FM. And thank you guys for tuning into today's program. And I hope that you had a good weekend. This afternoon, we're going to delve into the world of entertainment and music. And I have here with me a platinum-selling songwriter and an artist as well. And, I think that is really phenomenal, especially since we're here in the carnival season, where we have new music, new songs coming out. But, when I heard, I knew of the person I have here in front of me since high school days. But it's great to see, someone from St. Martin who literally, has sold music, written music that ended up being on the big charts. And that's, a young person at that too. And so with that, good afternoon to you, Chantal, and welcome to the program.
Thank you. What an intro. I appreciate that.
No problem. Tell us a bit about yourself, for those out there who are wondering who this phenomenal artist I have here with me is,
Okay, so my name is Chantal. I'm a singer-songwriter. I studied music and entertainment for a few years back in Holland, and now I'm signed to a publisher, and that's kind of what I do full time, and I love it, and that's what I can say right now, I think, in a nutshell.
Cool. So where did it all start? Where did it begin?
Actually, it began with dance. So I always I used to dance back in Bali with teacher Clara. And it all started with that. And then, I used to sing at home with, Destiny's Child and Beyonce. But then when they started offering singing classes at dance, I was really like, okay, this is cool. This is what I want to do. And so I started doing, some classes there. And then from there, I started doing shows, and then in high school, I started entering every single show I could enter. Every carnival show, I was in all of them. I never really, enjoyed, carnival with, in the crowd. I was always on the stage with everybody. So I feel like from there is where it all really started, and then I fell in love with songwriting, in my teenage years. And that's when I was like, okay, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I always knew it was going to be music.
Okay, so you didn't have no doubts about, making this your profession, doing this full-time, basically?
No. No, not really. I had, of course, everyone saying, you should study and you should da-da-da. But then I said, okay, well, if I'm going to study, I got to study something I love, right? So
Makes
that's
sense.
when I was like, okay, I'll study music and I'll understand, how I can make money from music. And that's, how I'll do it.
And what was the support like in that pursuit?
It was really good. Honestly, in terms of my parents, they always really supported me. And in terms of, the people around me were always very supportive, and that's really all I needed. And, I felt like I had a good, base around me that understood that, this was my choice and this is what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about what genre would you say you were raised on as well? What form of music really stood out to you most, or were you every type of music type of person?
I'm a every type of music type of person, but I grew up kind of so my mom is Danish and my dad is from here, and so I feel like that kind of brought me up with all kinds of different music, So I grew up on of course, listening to Caribbean music and the compa and the zouk and the soca, but I also listened to a lot of pop music and rock music. I think my parents' favorite artist together is Phil Collins. So I listen to a lot of that type of music too, and I feel like that had a big influence on why I love all type of music now today. But my favorite genre, if I could say my favorite, because I have so many, would be R&B. I love R&B.
What would you say is top 3 then?
Top 3? Oh, it's so hard. I feel like R&B, pop, and I love Afro beats.
Okay, that's it.
So yeah, and it's hard because I also love like K-pop and stuff too. So and then soca, I do enjoy soca. So it's hard. But I think definitely R&B and pop is like my top.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what was it like? So you shared that you were always part of different shows, which I remember, talent show, carnival shows, etc.
Yeah.
What was it like for you at that moment, knowing while you're young, this is what you really want to do? But what was your process in developing yourself? And for example, training your voice, stage performance, and all this type of stuff.
Right. So I did do vocal lessons. And I think I just had like a team around me of like young people that also really wanted to do the same thing. So from young, I was like around people that had this bigger dream. So I never really felt like small for wanting that. And how I went about it was just literally like studying. Like I would zone in on like watching, shows like live shows from Beyonce and Destiny Child, Michael Jackson. I would really try to understand like, okay, what are they doing? What is working? Like, and I guess I did that from like very young. And like, I realized that like when I talk to some other people my age, like they know so many movies and like Disney movies, and I'm like, why don't I know that? And I was talking to my mom like, why don't I know all these Disney movies? She like, because all you did was watch Beyonce and live concerts and stuff. And now I'm like, okay, like I get it.
So that was your leisure / homework, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So I made it like something that I was just like zoned into. So I really studied it like from a young age.
But I'm glad you share that, because all of that goes into success.
Yeah.
In a sense, being hyper focused on what you desire, your ambition, your aspirations, because sometimes what results in that is not sometimes, basically all the time, is that sacrifice, having to give up something, whether it's extra time for sleep, extra time being out, or just missing the other stuff that your peers would enjoy. And I'm guessing that you never necessarily felt odd as well.
I'm not gonna make it sound like it was all easy, because I did feel like a lot of times I felt like no one really understood, like they're like, this is what I want to do, and they're like, no one understood like how difficult it could be, because it's always like when you say like, oh, I do music, it's like, oh, but how you gonna make money? How you gonna make money from that? But like and it was always like a lot of times people project their fears onto me, as in like they would never do it, and I'm like, okay, well that's you know what I mean? But so I did a lot of times feel like no one got like how difficult and like alone you could feel sometimes, like being in something that's like, it is like a difficult industry to be in. So like and
very competitive.
It's so competitive. Like, oh my gosh, there's always someone doing it too,
Yeah.
So you do feel like, and I mean, I did go through my times when I was like, I needed that support, and I didn't feel like sometimes on the island, I wouldn't feel like I had like the people who like really got it. But then the older I got, the more like, friends I found here that also had this big dream and like decided to just literally up and go for it. And that's where I found like my comfort, as well as in, my parents. I do feel like they supported that a lot for me. So.
And that helps a whole lot too.
Yeah.
The backing from your parents. And one of the things I like to get into is, I guess your period then taking it up to another level when you went to study. But one of the things I'm curious about, though, you said your mom is Danish.
Yeah.
How has, I guess, her culture been reflected in your life? What are some things that about her background that stands out to you?
Ooh, that's a good question. I do like, that's one thing I'm really like, I'm very vocal about, is like growing up in a home that was like two very different cultures. But I just feel like really like what she brought to me was just like a lot of love. Like they're such soft people over there, and they're very communicative, so they always talk about like how they feel and like like mental health, and all these things were like a very open topic. And
Okay.
like I mean, we have to be honest, in the Caribbean, culture is not as open.
Yeah, it's more taboo. Yeah.
So like I feel like that was something I was like really appreciative of, that like I could have grown up in a home where I had that. And then of course the food is like way different, so I think it just prepared me for this journey that I'm on, because music is literally like, if you're in the music industry, you got to work with every kind of person, every culture, work in with every type of people, so I feel like growing up in a home that like I already had to learn to deal with different cultures and different languages, it like prepared me for the journey that I'm on. In a way, it's like it was meant to be like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you then first went to study international media and entertainment management.
Yeah.
You shared that part of the reason for that is because you also wanted to develop the financial side of it.
Yeah.
So what was that like? And how was your study period as well in the Netherlands?
I loved it. It was the best. I love that I studied that because so I did entertainment management, which is the broad version. So like, understanding TV, film, just creative arts and how to monetize your creativity. That's really like was always my goal. How do I monetize this? Because at the end of the day, like, your passion is your passion. But if you could actually like make money from your passion and live off of that, it's like a whole nother feeling.
Yeah.
So that was
it's
my
like
main.
it's like true freedom.
Yeah, it is. So I
you
was
don't
like,
feel bound by anything.
No,
Yeah.
so I had to learn that. So in everything I did, it was like, okay, I'm gonna relate this to my music. I'm gonna relate this to my music, and so I studied. I did my major basically in music, and just really understanding music copyright, music royalties, publishing, sync, understanding like how to make money off of TV, putting ads on TV, using my music in TV, film. That was like my main focus, and so it was a fun time because I did what I loved and I related it every single time to my projects and my music, so that I could understand.
Yeah, I guess that helps because you're then in the creative and the business side of it.
Yeah, and I always made it like, okay, like, well, I know I want to get into this, so like let me make this next project about that, and then I would understand, my industry better and my passion better, because I knew I wanted to get into songwriting. So like I took a course in school about songwriting. I did my thesis on like how to make money off of music, and like I did my thesis on streaming platforms and understanding like how to monetize them, how to like make the most out of it. So all of those things I would always relate it back to like what I love and what I want to do in the future.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because, now more than ever, you've seen such a bigger push where artists are, demanding their rights, demanding a bigger slice of the pie because, while they are the star, they are the commodity because it's the lawyers, the managers, and the executives and stuff that could eat off of them, and they sometimes are left with nothing.
Exactly.
So, when you look at artists like Kanye West, for example, who has changed the game in monetizing his art, from Jay-Z, you name it. So many artists now focusing on ensuring that, hey, let me get my masters and all these stuff, because they realize that they went in with this hunger to live for the art they love, but not with understanding that you must also live, and sustain yourself, your family through what you love too.
And like the problem is that like we put so much trust into like just everyone, that they're gonna be good.
Yeah, they're gonna take care of you. You think of people as how you are exactly. Yeah.
And
like I wouldn't do this, so they probably wouldn't do it to me.
And that was always my problem. I was like, nah, that would never happen. Like, why would anyone do that?
Yeah,
but
people
like,
are cruel.
Yeah, and the more you understand,
it can be cruel. Yeah,
the more you understand, like, okay. The more you understand your royalties, the more you understand that, like, hey, I made a certain amount of money on these physical sales. Like, I should be seeing this, and if we don't understand at least the basics of what we do, and like the financial part, the legal part, like it's so easy for someone to take advantage of you in that industry.
Yeah.
So like I think that's like something super important that like artists, like especially, you know, on the island, we have so much amazing talent. But I want to see them, you know, make money off of it. And I know that they can. And I see sometimes I'm like, you could have like literally monetized that in a way that like you'll be good, you know? So I feel like that's something I really want to like push amongst my peers, is that like we understand, you know, the business side of what we do as well, even though maybe sometimes it's not as fun. You know, it's really important to understand that.
True.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because one of the things I like if you could share is starting off with the importance of copywriting.
Yeah.
Because we've seen where even to date, for example, that song from, I forget the name of the Jamaican artist, Bam Bam, you know? Yes, exactly, you know? That song has been sampled so many times, and I think that artist, among many others, especially in the region, were among those who, you know, they just made the music and put it out there, and then people sample it, people use it, and then you get no money off of it until maybe later on, if, you know, someone has a good heart enough to help you, then, you know, recoup those funds. And I use that example because I think her song is probably one of the most sampled songs in history.
And a lot of them, like especially when I looked into like copywriting and music copyright in the Caribbean, and how Caribbean artists make money off their music, and a lot of them didn't know that their music was doing well abroad.
Yes.
And that was like one of the biggest issues, is like that their song would be sampled and be on the charts, but because they didn't like get it, you know, registered or copyrighted or anything, they didn't know about it. And like that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, like we gotta do better here with educating, you know, ourselves on this, you know, industry, because if we look around, entertainment is such a big part of the Caribbean. Like we see when you reach by the cruise ships, you see in you know, Mighty Dow and the Steel Pan Orchestra and everyone, you know, you see live music everywhere. You hear it on the radio. We have soca, we have like all these huge genres and all these crazy good artists.
Yeah, down to the design, etc.
Yeah, and it's like, are we really understanding like what value our music has and what value our art has? And you know, so I just want to make that like a big thing that like at least people start to question it, like, wait a minute, like this has so much value, like am I really just gonna give it for free for exposure? Let's not do things for exposure anymore, guys. You know,
exposure don't pay bills.
No. So
because exposure definitely don't pay bills, and you know, it takes work, like to record a song. You got to pay the producer.
It's
producer
an expensive business.
Producer got to pay his utilities. You got to pay for the time, you know, and whatnot. So, but what is the first step then that people should take, you know, to get to that point, especially with copywriting their music?
Right. So just understanding, if you're in a room with, you know, a certain amount of writers, like how are you going to split the song? That's like one of the first things you should understand. How are you splitting it? Understanding like who's gonna, you know, who, like if you write the song, understanding that you own the copyright one time, you don't have to actually go anywhere and legally get that copyrighted, but that's gonna help you if you legally get it documented that you own the copyright to this song. You know, that's going to help you in the long run when you start to, you know, make money off of it. So all those things I think is really important. I think if you're putting your music out on, you know, platforms, you know, making sure that you get the right distributor, making sure that you understand how the fees are being allocated. You know, like you don't always have to give a percentage of, I go in deep here, but you don't have to give a percentage of your publishing always. You don't have to, you know, understanding exactly what we talked about with masters, like owning your masters and making sure you get points on the masters. Like all these different things are so important, and just understanding like the deals that you sign with people, you know, for exclusivity, non-exclusivity, and how that affects how you make money at the end of the day. Because I mean, we're in an age of, you know, we're in a digital age, we're in the time of social media. So we don't need labels as we did before.
Yeah.
So the contracts.
The girls gatekeepers almost, in a sense, can be irrelevant.
Yeah. And so the contracts that we sign should be way different than from what we signed before, right?
Yeah.
Because now I have to come to you with a social media following. All these type of things like are so important to know and understand from the beginning. You know, we don't want it to take away from my creative process, but like whenever I write a song, we one time after that we split, you know, and understand how much percentage each person is getting, how are we going about it in terms of money. And that's like that's important, like right away. So I think like just knowing, having those few things and like a checklist of what you're gonna do once you've written the song, like, you know, you're good. But just protecting yourself is important.
Yeah, you got to, because a lot of people will look out for themselves.
Yep.
Yeah, and you'll be at the bottom of that list.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm glad you just clarified and helped broke down the approach of copywriting and what's that like. But then what will you say in terms of the distribution factor? Choosing the best routes, mode of getting your music out there, publishing it, but and the right platform.
Right.
Because of course the main thing to consider will be who's your audience. But you know, perhaps you could put your music everywhere, but what's really the best approach?
Right. So this is kind of like what I studied in my thesis, and what I learned was that like it's best to put it everywhere, you know, be available everywhere. That's most important. But then have your marketing focus on, like, let's say where your audience is. So if you know, like in America, the most people are on Apple Music, then you want to put your marketing focus onto, you know, Apple Music if that's who you're targeting. So I think with that, and then choosing a digital distributor is also about how much percentage they take from you when you give them a song. So let's say I put in my song with you and you're going to put it onto Spotify and all these platforms. Like, how big of a percentage are you taking off of what I profit? Or do I just pay you a flat fee? And that's what you need to look at when you choose like a distributor, because each of them are going to want to take some kind of fee. But some take just, okay, you just pay to put it on the platform, and some say, oh, we're going to take 5% of your profit or whatever you earn. And that's like what you need to look out for when you put it out. Yeah.
Gotcha. And one of the things you mentioned, like if you could explain a bit more, getting points on your masters.
Yeah, that's like a complicated topic at some point. So it's basically like that you own a piece of the master. So usually when you sell, like from a songwriter type of view, a lot of times right now they don't own the masters, right? Like you give it to the label. But then let's say all the physical sales come from the masters. And so me not owning it means I'm not going to get any percentage of the physical sales. And that's where the money really is. Because let's be honest, streaming is like 0.000 cents, you know?
Yeah.
And then physical sales is like a percentage of $15 times, I don't know, 40,000 sales, you know?
Yeah.
And if you're not getting any part of that, like, you missing out so much money. But you wrote the song, so I mean, we should get a part of that.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's like a really big topic right now in the industry, is like for songwriters to understand that they should also get points on the masters, for producers to understand they should get a point on the masters, all of these type of things. But it's definitely a topic that's like, you gotta have time.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, because it leads to end benefit, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a quick break and then we'll be right back.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the news behind the news with Ralph Chantal on Mix 94.7 FM. And joining me here today on the program is Chantal Richardson, platinum-selling songwriter and music artist. So I'm really glad, you know, that you are breaking all of this down. Because you know, we often speak about further developing our local entertainment industry in general, whether it's artists, artists in the sense of people who maybe paint, who dance, you name it, the whole creative arts, writers, etc. And you're sharing very relevant and important information because we know that Simran has a talent, cool. So now let's take it to the world.
Yeah.
Yes, Simran has a talent. We have all the skills, etc. But let's ensure that that we can allow more persons to, not have to sacrifice giving up something they love because of income, but ensuring that they can create a livelihood off of it.
Yeah.
So one instance that I think is really great is the fact that you're currently signed to a publisher.
Yeah.
And you write music professionally. So can you share your experience in getting that job, but also how does it go and how has it been as well?
Right. It's been great. It's been exciting. I think 3 years ago, I wrote down one of my goals was I want to be signed to a publisher as a songwriter, because that was super important for me, to really make money off of what I do and kind of just have that person that represents me in that way. And just it's been a really crazy experience. I was signed maybe a year and a half ago. And then one time I went to Korea, so I'm signed in South Korea. And I went to Korea, I moved there, and I started writing loads of pop and K-pop songs. And then I've seen tremendous amount of success from it. So I have no complaints. It's been a crazy, crazy cool experience. A lot of new things have happened, for me that I haven't experienced before because of being signed and because of getting into that industry.
And so a key thing there is networking.
Yeah.
How has that been for you? Making the right networks and getting as far as you are now and even further in time to come.
Right. It was a lot of networking, I went to so many events. So that was in the Netherlands, in Holland. I went to a lot of events on music and music business. I went to loads of auditions. I would always audition. I would go to London and network because that music industry is really booming as well.
Yeah, especially with the drill.
Yeah. And so I always put myself in different rooms. Okay. And it was funny because I went to one audition for a totally different reason, and I went there with a pop Caribbean song, and then I pitched it to Atlantic Records and Republic, Columbia, all of those. And then that's where I met a really key person who introduced me into the K-pop scene. And it was just crazy to me how I went for one thing and then it opened a door to a whole nother world that I wasn't even really looking out for actually. And then I went and I did some sessions with them, and then next thing I know I went to Korea, and then I absolutely loved it. It was so amazing, and the artists there and the music, their musicality is next level. And then I got signed, and then I got a lot of placements from it, and that's kind of in a nutshell how it happened. But of course, it's not that easy. It's not as easy as I'm saying it right now, and smooth.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work and a lot of ups and downs, but
you persevered.
I persevered. I'm pushing through.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, so several things. Several things that came to mind. I really find it something awesome. Well, yes, K-pop. What is K-pop?
Right.
Someone who may not know what K-pop is, but also, I think the big news I need you to emphasize is you've written a song that is it's on a platinum charts.
Yeah.
So tell us about what is K-pop? How the song that you wrote. Where can people listen to it, etc.
Okay. So K-pop is Korean pop music. So it's a huge genre right now, and it's really amazing, if I may say so myself. I mean, to me, it is pop music in Korean, but there's a lot more arrangements and musicality towards it and in it. Like, they put a lot more thought into how they write their songs and how they produce their songs. So when you listen to it, it's like, whoa, like the beat, the vocal production, the harmonies, the backings, everything is like top notch. They don't go small, they go hard with everything. And their music videos, nobody got anything on K-pop music videos. It's really next level. But yeah, so the song that I wrote is from NMix. It went platinum. It went on the charts. And that was super cool. And another song I did was Very Very Getaway. And that one went number 1 on Billboard. So that was like another really cool experience. And I've had like a lot more songs that went on the top charts on iTunes, on Apple Music. So I've seen like a lot of really cool new accomplishments, you know, from K-pop.
For me, I feel like, it's like sitting across and it's like, I mean, you make it sound so simple and basic, but it's really awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
really awesome indeed.
Yeah.
Also, one of the questions I have is, do you write alone?
No, so I write with my team. So I'm signed to a publisher called The Hub. So yes, of course, I also write alone. But like what I've learned is that like is even better when you write with amazing writers. So I have a team, and we all collaborated on the recent song NMix from NMix, and yeah, that's kind of like how we created this song, because we're
What's the name of it again? Sorry.
So it's called O. So if you go NMix, NMIXXO.O, yeah.
Yeah, I see it now. Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a mixed genre type of song. And it was really cool to write because all of us in the team are like from very different places. We have people from the UK, from Trinidad, from Curacao.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
from
dope.
St. Martin, from the Netherlands, Indonesia. So it's like all of us together, like we create like this like really amazing different type of music, you know?
Yeah, because, I mean, interestingly, the song dropped February 22, 2022.
Yeah. Yes.
And it has basically 60 million views.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's... I'm literally blown away. Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
That's
thank you.
awesome. And can you detail a bit more than of your writing process? What makes you a good songwriter? What, anyone listening who maybe writes poetry or have written songs or have a child or a nephew, whatever, what do they need to consider to be a good songwriter?
Yeah, I think what's really important, like you can be really talented and, be able to write these amazing melodies and lyrics, but if you're not open to working with different people and open to like stepping outside of your comfort zone, then you kind of gonna always stay in like this box, right? And so I think what was super important, what I did was also like just understanding that like each time I needed to level up and each time I needed to understand like how to make something different. I needed to understand arrangement. How does the arrangements of a song go? Like what type of song are you writing, And I think the more you study music and study the genre that you want to like pursue, and understand how they go about their structure, how they go about their melody placements, like music is amazing, and just flowing and being yourself is just most important.
Yeah.
But then understanding like, okay, now that I have these melodies and this is me and my unique stuff, how can I like place it in a way that like it is ready for this genre and this industry? At the end of the day, yeah, it is a business. And it's just like, what can you bring to the table that's different?
Yeah. I'm glad you detailed that. One thing that comes to mind, for example, is hip hop. Hip hop was one of those fairly new genres, been around for just a little over 30 years and so forth. And I remember when rap was huge on St. Martin. Right now, soca is king in a sense.
Yeah.
But when you look at rap, it's cool, it's good to be able to rhyme, but it's more than just rhyming, you know. There's like a science to it as well, and I think that is. I'm glad you shared that, because even now with soca, let's say having its day here in St. Martin, there is potential for some artists to take it further. But I'd like that you shared, you know, that the commitment, the study of the genre itself, you know, knowing the history of it, all of that, you know, it puts you on another level.
Exactly.
Because then you're aspiring to be a master of it.
Exactly, and it's like, again, it's a very competitive field.
Yes.
So I mean,
much.
the more you know about what you're writing in your genre, like the better you will become, right? I used to think like, oh, but if I study this too much and look too much into like the technicalities of it, that it would take away from like my creative process. But the more I did it, the more I realized actually this was advancing my creative process. So I think that's super important. And then like, to me, I think embracing like your culture and who you are is also important, because me, like, yes, I write K-pop, I write pop and R&B. My main genres are not like typical Caribbean genres, but like I bring like my Caribbean spice to it. You know what I mean? Like that was the thing I used when I would network. I wouldn't like hide my accent, and then it would be like, oh, where you from? And I'd be like, St. Martin. You know, like it just like
it makes you stand out.
Yeah, everyone is different, and it's like, don't, you know, hold back on who you really
don't
are.
Bottle,
exactly. So it's like,
bottle yourself.
Yeah. So I feel like everyone has a story, and just sharing your story is also a way to like kind of like, you know, place yourself on a different pedestal from like everyone else that you're competing against, because everyone is so good in this industry. Everyone is really good. So
another thing too that comes to mind is, you know, one aspect that some persons don't like about the music industry. I guess it helps that you're young and all in it, because that is traveling. You know, yes, you're here now, but I'm pretty sure you're sometimes back and forth and whatnot. Especially if you're going all the way to Korea and the like. So how is that like? You know, being on the road often. I guess you know, it's slowed down due to the pandemic, but now it's of course picking back up again.
Yeah, exactly. I love traveling. So for me, it was like perfect, you know, to be able to travel and do music. But I mean, what the pandemic did bring is that it helped people understand, like, yo, we can make songs on Zoom. Like, I've written loads of songs now, and this song was written on Zoom. And so, like, things like that are, like, I feel like if you're more open to that, like, that's also possible if you're not able to travel all the time. And, you know, like, it's expensive, and it can be an investment also to have to, like, you know, go everywhere and put yourself in all these different places and countries. But personally, like, I already wanted to, like, travel the world. So I always, like, I remember making a promise to myself, like, okay, the next time I travel is only going to be for music. Like, I want to have it be that, like, I get to go to a country because music brought me there, you know. And so that's kind of like how I'm going about it right now, is that, like, wherever I go, I'm able to do, like, a session or you know, an event or perform, or, you know, something in that aspect.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it is not easy for everyone to be able to do, and I do understand that, like, that is a privilege in itself, to be able to just up and travel and go and, like, you know, invest into these type of things.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And okay, and so for those of you who maybe just joined us on the program, I'm here with Chantal Richardson, a music artist, a platinum selling songwriter as well. As we talk about the world of the entertainment and music industry. So one thing that also comes to mind too, which is very important, is artist development. You know, I remember, for example, going to the Motown Museum.
So cool.
Yeah, be amazing.
That's so cool. I want to go.
You should. I think you would love it. But then listen to the stories of how Berry Gordy, you know, how he developed each and every single talent, placed the emphasis, like, those who didn't know how to dance, made sure that they learned how to dance. You know, and I think of that too, because we also have to shape, you know, the raw talent that is among us as well, because you know, one of the things that many of us are hoping for is to see more artists particularly break through. and really, attain that that international fame and recognition. So, from your perspective, what do we need to consider in developing our artists, and for the artists as well, doing what needs to be done to particularly make them stand out, and grow past the, let's say, the local fame, so to speak?
Okay, this is a passionate topic of mine.
No problem.
I think, firstly, like, giving everyone a platform is really important. I think we need to start really supporting our artists and understanding that what they do is an art, and they do it, for a living. So let's drop the exposure stuff. Let's drop that. Let's understand that, investing into our artists is only gonna benefit us and our country. So I think, in terms of artist development, giving the schools the right financial support that they need to actually teach the children and help them understand art from all these different perspectives. I think also it comes with just a change in mindset as well, that it's totally possible to do all of this, and we see it with we already see it today, with people around us. Bianca Daikovs, she's doing amazing with her dancing, and she's reached international levels. We have D. Colors, who's also doing amazing with his songwriting and wrote for Pitbull and stuff. So when we have artists like this, let's give them more of a platform, you know what I mean, and help them and push them, to go abroad, the same way. I mean, we can support the sports even more, but the same way that we give sports, the opportunity when they go abroad, we give them, the sponsorship and the visibility. I feel like we can do the same for the art industry. We have crazy amazing talent on this island, and I've seen it. Another person I want to mention is Jonathan van Arneman, who made that amazing choreographic film,
Atlantis Rebirth.
So it's all of these things, I'm why are we not pushing it even more, So I think that comes with a change in mindset to understand that the more we invest into our artists, the better return on investment we'll get,
Facts.
And that's what we can take, I think, from Korea as well, is because they set out to make K-pop a huge industry, because that's one of the highest paying industries right now, is K-pop, and that's bringing so much tourism to Korea. And their main goal was that, was okay, you know what, we're gonna invest into our artists. They put 3 labels, and they invested into these 3 labels, and they were develop amazing artists and amazing groups, and that's what they did. And now look at where they are. So it's just about as I say, a change in mindset, and just understanding what that could bring, for them and for us.
Yeah, definitely feel passion there, which is important, which is true. No, but you're on point with that, because it's your artists as well are your ambassadors. They there's no need necessarily for governments to write a letter to other heads of state, because when it comes to artists, even governments around the world, they're they welcome artists from other countries, dignitaries and so forth, because best example to date, for at least for our region, is Jamaica. And you see, they put so much into their artists, and look at where that takes them. And they have all the tools that they need there. They have they have the music schools, they have the dance schools, they have and I mean the colleges. They have the labels, they have the people investing, and we see it time and time again. So many amazing artists coming out of Jamaica and getting a platform and getting the right visibility that they need. And that could happen here too. Barbados is the same. They also invest into their artists, and then they have, of course, the amazing Rihanna, of course. But you can see that Barbados and Jamaica, they really take art, and they understand that exactly artists are their ambassadors, because what we're doing is we're traveling. I'm traveling
And then the first thing I say in an interview is like, where are you from? St. Martin. Oh, it's an island in the Caribbean, and I'm promoting it. And we see that with like our dancers and our rappers and producers as well. So it's like, this is literally an investment into the country. It's like if you have basically ambassadors going around everywhere and promoting the island. So I just think that's like super.
Yeah, definitely, because art breaks barriers.
Yeah.
When you're able to have someone from a totally different cultural background, language, and understanding relate to music you create, that is powerful.
That is powerful.
Yeah, it's like when Bob Marley said, also, when the music hits you, feel no pain. Because, there's that human connection to art. You see it from the scribbles of prehistoric times on the walls, the way communication has also progressed by leaps and bounds, which leads me to, for example, my next question, where, off air we spoke about media innovation, which is the fact that you even was that serious that you went up and get your master's as well in the game. So I'm curious about where do you see the future in terms of the collaboration of technology and music, and then how that impacts culture. Right.
I mean, I think we're seeing it happen now already with NFTs. So like, and just the whole online, meta universe and everything we're seeing, and Web 3.0, we're seeing how art is taking another level right now. And I think like, having a country already understand like NFTs in the music industry, and like what that means for a country and what that means for artists, would like propel us to probably the next level. So I think like in terms of innovation, that's something that like I really am looking into and looking out for, is like NFTs, and just how you can monetize your art now through like a digital platform, a digital artwork, basically, is what it is. So I think that's like where we should look into now. Of course, we have like what I did when I studied, which was only like a year ago, but so much has changed already. The music industry is crazy how it changes, but like it was, of course, mainly Spotify and making money on streaming platforms. But now we have, NFTs, and that's like a whole nother thing we could really like invest into. So I think that's something we should really like look out for if you're an artist. And even if you're not an artist, just an investor, anything, like that's something that you could look out for.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so my final question for you is, what would you say to our youth, who are presently interested in, just like you, knowing and believing that, they want to make it in the music industry. They want to, thrive, in the business side of entertainment. Yeah.
I would say go for it. I would say work hard, and just don't let anyone project their fears onto you. Like, you know what you want, and we all know what we're capable of. When we're younger, we always say exactly what we want to be in the future, and then, as we get older, it's like society kind of dims that, like, oh, wait, what? That? And it's like, just don't let go of that childlike,
faith.
And just ambition. Like, just be that kid that's super ambitious and knows that they can do it all, because honestly, we can do it all. And just reach for it, and understand your art, understand your craft, understand your business. I'm giving a lot of different tips, but I think that's like the gist of it. And just understand that like you can do this.
Definitely. Yes. So I think my main takeaway from you really is, shine your light.
Yes. Yeah. Basically.
All right, Chantal, thank you so much for this amazing conversation.
Thank you.
I look forward to even greater work from your end, and I'll probably take your autograph from now.
Thank you for having me, and congrats to you as well on this amazing show, and giving everyone a platform to just push themselves and push their message.
Appreciate it. So to our viewers and listeners, that was Chantal Richardson, and be sure to join us again tomorrow for another amazing conversation. Do take care, and goodbye.